CHG from The Athletic. It's Adam Jahns.
It's one of the craziest games that I've covered live. That crazy for me.
I feel like, how many times a season do we say that?
Yeah, but this one,
I know.
In the red zone.
I'm not disputing what you're saying. I'm just like, how does this franchise keep doing that?
Anyway, who cares?
Here they are, the Adams, Hoge and Jahns.
What is up? Welcome in, Hoge and Jahns. Getting ready for the Week 15 game against the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm Adam Hoge, sitting in and honoring Adam Jahns by showing up 12 minutes late. Kevin Fishbain. What's up, Kevin?
Good morning, Mr. Hoge. I just wanted us to feel like Johnsy was here.
Yeah.
Just had to play that role. And you know what? You know what's funny? You know the reason I'm late? My children.
Oh, that's perfect then. It's
Yeah.
even better.
So that's best way to honor him. I got a question for you, but go hit the the standard open, because I got an opening question for you that I did not even put into our Google Doc.
Oh, wow. So it's a surprise question. I'm ready for it. I can't wait. Follow Kevin on Twitter at KFishbain. You can follow me at Adam Hoge. Of course, read Kevin, Johnsy, Dan Pompey's got his athletic piece up on Roquan Smith. Read them all on theathletic.com/Hoge and Jahns. Good time to get subscriptions. If you're not already subscribed around the holidays, you can find me at allchgo.com. My newsletter was up yesterday, so you can go back and check that out. We also have gift subscriptions and things of that nature available, so check all that out too at CHGO. Marissa's filling in for Kent today, producing. All our merch is up on obviousshirts.com, and I think we're ready to jump in with the surprise question. I can't wait.
All right. Well, there's when did you start covering the Bears? 2011 or 2012? 2011.
The 2011 season, yeah.
Okay. So I started covering the Bears in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
You have never covered a Bears win over the Eagles in Chicago. I have never covered a Bears win over the Eagles, period. The Bears have a 5-game losing streak to the Eagles, which includes the playoff game. It's their second longest losing streak against any team. Well, second longest in terms of years, because obviously the Packers, I think they've lost like 8 in a row now. The other one is the Saints. They haven't beaten the Saints in a while. But I believe the Eagles and the Saints, for me, are the only 2 teams I've not seen the Bears beat in person since joining the beat. So you saw them, you would have seen them beat the Eagles in 2011, but that game was in Philly.
Wait, so even all the AFC teams, they've beaten?
I believe.
Doesn't seem right.
Wait, no. Not the Dolphins.
Right, yeah.
Dolphins, they have lost 3 in a row too, so that goes back to that 2010. Remember that 2010? It was a Thursday night game. I think the Bears won like 24-0. I want to say, or something.
Yeah, in Miami.
Yeah. So we haven't covered a win over the Dolphins, but I think. I
have no memory of a 2014 game in Miami, by the way.
That was here. That was the Brandon Marshall yelling in the locker room game.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Every 4 years it switches.
Oh, wait.
I do remember that one now. That was a bad one.
Have we covered a Bears win? No. All right. I found another one. What a great preparation. Great research.
Yeah, I was good. But the NFC, it sounded right, but I'm like, NFC, they don't play the AFC teams enough for them to have beaten them all.
Well, the funny thing is, remember how was it one year the Bears like swept the AFC North, even though it was 2017.
Yeah,
maybe?
the 2017 season.
Yeah,
they did do that.
They swept the AFC North. Take the North. They took it.
Mike Lennon beat the Steelers at Soldier Field.
Yeah, Mitch beat the Ravens in Baltimore, and the Browns on Christmas Eve. Remember the Mitch and Shaheen game in Cincinnati?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Tennessee Titans, I'll add them to the list. I don't think we've covered a Bears win over the Titans.
2012, they beat the crap out of them.
You did, yes. I was
down in Nashville when they ran out of beer.
Right,
all the Bears fans.
Okay, so in the NFC.
Anyway, who cares?
The point is, I feel like that streak's going to continue, but I've never covered a Bears win over the Eagles. For a long time, I hadn't covered a Bears win over the Lions.
That's not good.
That lasted like 4 years.
That's not good.
Yeah.
So you got to fix that. All right.
The point is the Eagles have the Bears number.
Aren't they on a current run against the Lions?
The Bears are?
Yeah. Like losing to the Lions? They beat them last year?
They beat them last year. Yes, on Thanksgiving. They saved Matt Nagy's job.
Oh, that's right.
For 5 games.
That's right. Okay. My memory's not working this morning.
Clearly mine isn't either.
I mean, there's a lot of things that this is not worth remembering, I feel like.
Yeah, like the Bears-Titans games that I just forgot about.
Well, it is Bears-Eagles this week. The point I think Kevin's getting at is this usually doesn't go well. It probably won't go well. I'm not sure it's supposed to go well this time. But is it the most exciting quarterback matchup we've had in this series?
I mean, are you not, Carson Wentz versus Jay Cutler guy from 2016?
I would say this is better. What about Nick Foles versus
Mitch Trubisky, future teammates?
There's a couple Nick Foles games.
Because
wasn't that 2013 game Nick Foles and Chip Kelly's offense?
Oh yeah, that was Nick Foles versus Jay Cutler
versus Cuddy.
People keep reminding, or maybe you might have done this in the pod on Tuesday, that if the Eagles score 50, it wouldn't be the first time, literally in the last 10 years, that they've done that against the Bears.
No, and they could do it.
But yes, this is going to be the best quarterback matchup.
Yeah. But meanwhile, it doesn't sound like the worst news ever, but not great. Justin Fields missed practice yesterday because he was sick. It sounded like something maybe he was coming off of with the bye week, and he was back in the building, they said, right? So just recovering from whatever he was dealing with. And then Chase Claypool didn't practice, which I was kind of wondering about. I thought, the fact that he finished that game against the Packers, maybe after the bye he'd be all right, but just didn't practice at all with the knee, right? So that's not great.
No, and he had a brace on it in the locker room, and it was not like the type of brace you just throw on your knee before you go play basketball or something. It seemed, so I don't, not a, to quote John Fox, not a doctor.
So topping my bye week list of things that need to be figured out, Chase Claypool was at the top, and now he might not even play in the first of these.
Well, we went in the locker room yesterday, and normally on Wednesdays we get Justin Fields, so that's going to be news whenever you talk to Justin Fields. Well, he didn't talk because he's sick. So we go to the locker room, and as you said, I think everybody agrees that Chase Claypool is right there as guys you were most looking forward to watching down the stretch. He didn't practice. Everybody talked to Kyler Gordon and Jaquan Brisker because they're back, and then everyone kind of just looked around, and it's like, well, who else are we supposed to talk to?
It's a little weird being in that locker room right now, and it's like, who of these players are going to be here next year?
Yeah, I talked to one who I think is going to be here next year. You know who I talked to yesterday?
Who did you talk to? Cole Kmet, because he talks every day.
I did say hello to Cole Kmet because he talks to everybody all the time.
Yeah.
I talked to Josh Blackwell.
Okay.
I think he's on the team for next year.
Okay, he made the Rooster.
The reason I talked to him was he was on the Eagles.
Oh, that's right.
This summer, and I was just kind of curious from him. He had got a good look at those guys in the preseason in training camp, and he was talking about Jalen Hurts and kind of how impressed he was that Jalen Hurts is like this quiet leader and like just totally intense guy. And I kind of looked in the direction of Justin Fields' locker, and before I could even start the comparison, he was like, "Oh yeah, same thing, same guy."
Interesting.
And so we'll go into those. I mean, I know we got a little bit of this in over-unders coming up, but I think that personality-wise, it seems like that there are some similarities in addition to obviously the way they play the game.
I'm glad you brought up Josh Blackwell because he's actually somewhere on the list of players I'm intrigued by here in these last 4 games because I thought he played really well against the Packers.
Yeah.
But he was in the slot, and I was wondering, with Kyler Gordon having an okay-ish rookie year, I think everybody sees the potential, but there hasn't really been the ball production or the splashy plays and things like that. Would they perhaps limit his role the rest of the way to get him to focus on either inside or outside and get Blackwell in there more? Because I thought he played well, but almost in passing in Monday's press conference. Did you catch this? Matt Eberflus emphasized that they want to see Kyler Gordon in the nickel. That's the word he used. Almost to the point that I wonder if he's going to be limited to the nickel. I mean, it was virtually a shutdown of what I've been talking about in the bye week, which is just play him outside. So that was like right off the bat. It's like, that's not what we're doing. He's definitely going to be playing inside. The question is, do they just keep him in on nickel downs as a slot corner? That's your job. And perhaps take a look at Jalen Jones played pretty good outside against the Packers too. So maybe that's something they're looking at. I think it's very intriguing how that shakes out on Sunday in this game.
Yeah, well, when you talk about guys really worth watching over the last month, I think you can argue an argument Kyler Gordon is number 3 behind Claypool and Justin Fields. He was your top draft pick. Yeah, I would be interested to see if they would do that. They've been so emphatic about that nickel position and what it means and when this defense is humming, because they like that guy. We talk about Kenny Moore. That guy's close to the football. He's helping out a lot in run support. Because what was interesting is that the couple times that Flus and Alan Williams have been asked about Kyler Gordon, they talk about his tackling quickly as something that they're starting to see, like he showed it in Atlanta, right? He did those back-to-back plays, open field tackles. Thought it was probably his best sequence of the season. But like that's something that they believe he can do really well, and something that they obviously believe is incredibly important to the way this defense functions, which is why they want him there. I guess my question to you would be, if that's your plan, just have him focus on that. Like so that means it's going to be Kindle Vildor, right?
Or have they seen enough of Vildor?
I mean, I would have Jalen Jones be the guy.
I think so. I think I would too.
I was impressed with Jalen Jones against Green Bay, as you mentioned. Like there were a few balls that went his way. Aaron Rodgers had a quote after that game where he kind of admitted that he felt like as long as he extended time in the pocket, somebody would get open, and then he'd look up and guys were covered.
They did a good job of covering in that game.
I thought they did as well. So I don't remember who brought this up. Might have been our good friend Patrick Finley that there were some similarities a little bit to that Vikings game last year when the entire secondary was out and Sean decided to put in guys from the practice squad, guys we'd never heard of, and they held up really well.
Right.
I mean, it had kind of some similarities to that.
Well, and then I think that would be the cautionary tale too, because everybody was like, well, Thomas Graham needs to play more. He played so well in that game. Why weren't they playing him earlier? And then the Bears put him right back on the bench. And then he came back a little bit later in the season, still kind of played well. And then I don't even know what team he's on, but it's not the Bears.
No, I think he was claimed by the Browns at some point. I thought when you talked about Josh Blackwell, you were going to be all over his great special teams play this season.
Oh yeah, I have been.
Yeah.
No, he's been great on special teams. And probably will continue to be. That's why. But that, to your point, I agree with you. I think he's on the team for next year, just based off of that. But I just found it intriguing too how he played on defense in that game, and he's clearly got some pretty impressive speed and athletic ability. And we see that on special teams all the time. Before we get to our 3 big questions, kind of dive deeper into this game, I did want to bring up Dan Pompei's piece on Roquan Smith, which was really good. He went out to Baltimore and talked to Roquan and kind of got the update on how things are going there, and they seem to be going great. I talked a lot about this yesterday on the CHGO podcast. Did you have any takeaways that you wanted to discuss from that pretty interesting piece on even honestly, the most interesting thing to me, Kev, was It almost sounds like if they had randomly beaten the Cowboys, Roquan would still be on the team.
That's what I was going to say. I texted Dan after I read it, and I said, I mean, I understand that a lot of these people in football have higher opinions of their own teams than we do, but did they really they really thought a win over the Cowboys, and you start like, ooh, maybe we've got something here.
Yeah, I mean,
because even if they did randomly beat the Cowboys, I'm like, where were they going?
That's what I don't understand. So please go read the whole thing, but there is a little nugget in there that basically Eric DeCosta, the Ravens GM, called polls right after they beat the Patriots, and that was one of Roquan's best games of the season, and was like, hey, any interest in trading Roquan? And polls was kind of, they're 3-4 at that point. They're coming off a great win. Let's wait one more week. The trade deadline's not for another week. Then they get killed by the Cowboys, and Roquan actually struggled in that game. It might have been his worst game of the season. And then now he's willing to trade him. That was interesting to me because it's like, I don't feel like one game even if they had gone 4-3, to your point, like, where were they going?
I can see, well, for one thing, I guess it doesn't really matter, but remember when they did trade Roquan? What was it? Did they trade Robert Quinn right after the Patriots game?
Yes, I think those were back-to-back weeks.
Because there was this sense of like, you guys just had this great performance, and you're taking this guy out of the locker room.
And there was a theory that it deflated them against the Cowboys. I think
right. So
more
maybe
than likely they just got beat by a good football team.
Yeah. So maybe that's on his mind. I mean, not wanting to trade Roquan, like two guys after that game, and he kind of maybe always knew that he was going to move him if the offer was still there after the Dallas game. I mean, the funny thing is like Roquan Smith admittedly did not have a great game against Dallas.
No, he didn't.
Like along,
you almost wonder if that hurt his value at all.
Yeah, but yeah, that was an interesting little tidbit, because that was a nice thing about Pompey's stories. He got kind of the Baltimore side of what they were thinking. I think we've all kind of got a good sense of the Bears side. Roquan continued to explain why he was frustrated here. And, I imagine Ryan Poles has a different take on some of the ways Roquan characterized things. And Dan got into this too. Like, I really see this as, we don't need to rehash the entire trade, because you guys, obviously we did that a lot for a couple of weeks, but I really think that the Bears just looked at this as simple as, here's where we see you. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm using my hands. This isn't really good audio, but here's where we see you, and here's what you want. And those don't meet.
They don't line up.
And that was that.
And you can get a second-round pick.
Yeah.
But given the timing of the deals, then the trade for Chase Claypool for a different second-round pick, they're always going to kind of be tied together. And there are a couple of interesting parallels, like Roquan played 75% of the snaps or whatever it was right away that first week. He's got teammates and coaches in that story saying he picked up the playbook in like a couple days. And here we are, 6 weeks after the Claypool trade, and there's still the head coach the other day saying, hey, he's got a, assignment alignment technique. It's still to figure all that out. And it's like, that's tough. Granted, I think it's a lot harder to pick up an offense and the wide receiver position specifically with all the details of routes and things like that than it is to pick up a defense that, yes, it was a new scheme, but it was also a lot more similar to what he's been playing in the past, Roquan Smith. And so I don't think it was terribly hard to pick up, especially with his pretty good instincts and ability to just go out there and play football at a pretty high level. And he's got a lot more talent around him there in a better D line in front of him and linebackers next to him that help. And I'm sure that's all help. One of my takeaways, Kev, I'm just disappointed that we never got to see Roquan and Jack Sanborn play together.
Yeah.
I don't know that changes the outcome, but I do wonder, because Roquan, I think, was already struggling, not necessarily struggling to play a new position, but play a new position while also not having a lot of help around him, not having defensive linemen in front of him that were really helping him. I think Sanborn, with what we've seen next to Roquan, would have been a better situation than Nicholas Morrow and Roquan Smith. There's too many inconsistencies there.
Well, and I think Nicholas Morrow has proven to be better on the weak side too than he was in the middle. Maybe I don't know how much that is that Morrow's better there, or it's the Sanborn effect for him too. That
It might be.
Yeah. So it's just that they had it might have been that they had 2 weak side linebackers and they didn't realize they had this Mike linebacker sitting there. If you told Ryan Pace on September 1st, 2018, that if you said, hey, 4 years from now, Roquan Smith is going to pick off Mitch Trubisky in an AFC North rivalry game, I'm guessing Ryan Pace would say, well, I'm probably not working for the Bears if that's the case.
Probably. I shouldn't laugh, but that's probably actually what he would say. Yeah, I'm probably working somewhere else then.
I mean, it's amazing because when they drafted Roquan Smith, they said, like, Roquan is going to be to the defense what Mitch is to the offense. He's going to be this leader on and off the field and, a great player. I think Roquan Smith lived up to that better than Mitch Trubisky did, the on the field part.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a little bit of a ex-Bears different universe kind of thing.
No, don't care.
I care. That was an interesting way to think about that. And everybody's in different places because of all of that. Right. It is surprising, though, that Roquan Smith's not a Bear. That's still surprising. It's still something, another hole that they've opened up that they got to fill this offseason. So we'll see if they can do that maybe with another Jack Sanborn or something. Because Jack Sanborn is also kind of like depending on, there's so many different ways you can look at this, but one of the ways to look at it is, well, the fact you can find Jack Sanborn undrafted free agent is maybe another reason why you can afford to let Roquan Smith go. Like, yeah,
well, but does
position, but
right? I was going to say, does the will linebacker need to be more of a dynamic guy?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, but Lance Briggs was a 3rd round pick. Yeah, there's guys you can find. Look at the Eagles. T.J. Edwards is a undrafted guy too. So I get it. I think in the context of how things have played out for Roquan in Baltimore versus Chase Claypool in Chicago so far, it's it just hurts that it's the 2nd round pick. I think everything's almost fine if it's the Ravens 2nd round pick that you were able to trade. But the Packers were in on it too, and they were offering. It sounded like they were offering their 2nd, and you had to go higher. Doesn't necessarily mean that it was the right move, but you can understand the logic at the same time.
Yeah, I think you've written this too. Another one of those. If you told me there's a better chance that Dave Montgomery's here in 2023 than Roquan Smith.
Yeah, and I still think that's possible.
I think so too. I'll give a shout. I'm guessing David Montgomery's reps listen to this podcast.
Okay.
Do one of those NBA year-to-year things. Just take a 1 year, like $10 million fully guaranteed contract to stay in Chicago.
Sure.
That's what I would recommend to running backs who are at Montgomery's caliber. I could see for me to say, because I'm sure like the Dalvin Cooks and Ezekiel Elliott's of the world have been able to get a lot more guaranteed money in their long-term deals, but Dave Montgomery's not. I don't think he's getting that. So
no, but I could see something like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. But definitely go for that short-term deal. Get as much upfront as you can, and
yeah,
that's why I was. I did a story about the 10 Bears with the most to gain down the stretch, and I did not include him because I don't what could he do more that would show the Bears what his value is. I don't think I think it's all. It's going to come down simply to Ryan Poles' philosophy about the position and the financials. I don't think there's anything more Montgomery needs to show. We all know what he's capable of and what he can mean to the team.
But sometimes I think that what gets lost in the conversation is, yes, you don't pay running backs an insane amount of money. But we're not talking about an insane amount of money for David Montgomery. I don't think anybody is. I don't think that's the market, especially when you consider that he's probably behind 4 or 5 other running backs who are also this is a big running back free agent class this year, and he's got to stand in line and wait for that. So I don't. This just different situations. Like in some ways, you could kind of see where the friction was going to come with Roquan Smith. I pointed this out a couple times that I wonder if the team and Jalen Johnson are going to have different views of value, because similarly, Jalen Johnson doesn't make as many plays on the ball as the Bears seemingly want in this defense. So, sometimes you could see this coming. In Montgomery's case, other than this idea that you just don't pay running backs and you move on to the next one, which I think is a little short-sighted because I think the price point matters. This one actually looks to me like it makes sense for both sides to come together and keep him here.
And I brought this up with Bears teams in the past. There's not a contract they could give Dave Montgomery that would prohibit them from doing whatever they want to do in free agency. They have that much cap space.
Yeah.
Like if they want to give Dave Montgomery a 3-year deal, 3-year, $24 million deal with $18 million up front or something, like that's not going to keep them if they want to go after Orlando Brown.
No, not at all.
Whoever they want in free agency. They have more than enough cap. And that is exactly why I kind of thought they were going to be able to get the Roquan Smith deal done. Because it wasn't going to, like, they have so much cap space. Like it was kind of, to me, it was like a why not? But this was before I learned about, what was going on in that back and forth.
Point is, those are some numbers.
Yeah, numbers to think about, I guess. All right, let's get into our 3 big questions for this game against the Philadelphia Eagles. Question number 1, is this the start of a great rivalry between Jalen Hurts and Justin Fields?
I hope so. It'd be fun to have a little NFC quarterback rivalry. It's you got the Alabama, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Ohio State.
Yeah.
Oklahoma, Georgia, Alabama, Georgia. They went to a lot of schools.
Look, the Eagles and Bears, the reason why I brought this up as a question is because the Eagles and Bears tend to, as much as the Eagles, have, you pointed off at the top of the show, have gotten the best of the Bears, they tend to play in intriguing games. And I don't know, there's similar sports cities with, similar fans that care a lot and, aren't afraid to get critical and loud when they need to be. And these quarterbacks have a lot of similarities too. So I feel like there's a tie here that's going to be there. And now it doesn't mean they're going to play every year. And like right now, I don't think they're going to play each other next year. That's not going to line up the right way. But they do play enough over the years, Bears and Eagles, that I feel like this could be like a sort of a mini NFC rivalry. But the thing that would ultimately get that done is if the Bears become a playoff team sooner rather than later, and then some of these games get played in the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, look, the Bears have played 5 playoff games at Soldier Field this millennium, and 2 of them have been against the Eagles. And then you go back to the Fog Bowl, right? So there is this, history with that team that would be a cool rivalry. And like you and I mean, every time you look up Justin Fields' stats as a runner, who's the other guy that's right there? It's not so much, it's not always Lamar Jackson this year because he's been hurt. It's been Jalen Hurts.
Right.
Because of the design runs, the scrambles, and the production. I mean, it's been him. So it's an easy comparison to make. And yeah, if the Bears can take off and Fields can continue to take off, then yeah, this would be a fun matchup whenever they get to play each other.
All right, next question. You came up with this one. I like it a lot. Would you rather have Devonta Smith and AJ Brown or Lane Johnson, Jason Kelsey, and Jordan Mailata?
And you could probably throw in Dallas Goedert if you wanted a third
for the first part.
Yeah, but
yeah. Well, it's great that the Eagles can say all of the above. Good for them. I would go with the offensive lineman.
Yeah.
I think you want to build there. Man, Devonta Smith and AJ Brown, though. They make you think, like, what can Justin Fields look like in the passing game next year if you can add a couple dudes?
Well, it's like
that.
if you have an average offensive line, but you have a guy like Devonta Smith who can get open the way he can, and a guy like AJ Brown who's always open the way he plays, then you don't need to have all that time to look for your guys.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a great offensive line and you have guys that maybe need a little bit more time to get open, then you have the time to get them the ball. This is me not answering the question. Man.
Can I say something real quick, though?
Yeah.
This might sound controversial because Devonta Smith, this big first-round pick. He's had 66 catches, 775 yards, 5 touchdowns. Like, to me, Darnell Mooney can be Devonta Smith if there's also an AJ Brown in the equation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and if you're not the 32nd ranked passing offense in football, like if you're throwing the ball.
Well, right, but like Darnell Mooney last year, what was it again? He
went over 1,000 last year, great.
Terrible. I'm trying to bring up his last year. He had 81 catches, over 1,000 yards, 4 touchdowns. It's kind of like, Smith's probably going to top that, I think, by the time the season's over. But then again, to your point, he's playing one of the best offenses in the league. And Mooney did that, in a terrible offense. So I still think when you look back to how his career started, this year was obviously a weird year. He still had ended up having 40 catches, 493 yards. I think if you can add an AJ Brown type, which is not the easiest thing in the world, again, good for the Eagles for doing that. I think it got the Titans general manager fired. Like, there's a world in which the Devonta Smith of this question already exists on the Bears.
Yeah. We haven't really covered either of these things, have we? Like an offensive line. I guess Brandon Marshall and Alshon Jeffrey would probably be the one. Like, we have had that kind of duo. But I always think back to, 2013 and 2018 were the best offenses I've covered here. 2013, every offensive lineman played every single snap until Jordan Mills got hurt in the finale.
Yeah.
And Kyle Long was a Pro Bowler that year. Jermon Bushrod played really well. You go 2018, Cody Whitehair and Charles Leno went to the Pro Bowl as alternates. I think it was Bobby Massey was his best year.
Yep.
Earned maybe a little bit of unnecessary contract extension.
Yeah, but we learned in 18 that offensive line and defensive line, they weren't physical enough.
No, and there were obviously flaws with those groups and I think with 18, I think Matt Nagy's kind of trickeration that took the league by surprise kind of helped the offensive line out. But the reason I'm bringing it up is, you get an offensive line that could play, they could stay healthy and play together all year. You don't necessarily need those stars, but man, this is a franchise that's just never, I shouldn't say never, that has not had that in so long. Right. So I would probably lead towards the offensive line. Everything starts up there.
All right, question 3. What adjustments to the offense will we see post-bye week?
I just want to see. I think that they keep talking about that Packers game, and it was the best they'd seen the way Justin Fields threw the football. And I think you go get more of that and build off that. Like I say, you have a little bit more passes dialed up, and you look at what worked against Green Bay, and you keep at it because there's something there. And then the other part of that is, which we didn't necessarily see against Green Bay, and you're just waiting for it, and we might not see it this week, is do you force 4 balls to Chase Claypool? If he's your number one guy, and you just need to get him going.
Yes, but is he going to play?
That's the problem, yeah. So I don't know what the exact adjustment is, but I think they're going to build – I feel like you could build something out of that Green Bay performance.
Otherwise, you're taking shots to Equanimeous St. Brown again.
Good job by Equanimeous St. John. He's going to get the block.
St. John.
Maybe St. John. Yeah, man, adjustments to the offense. I think it's probably going to be very similar to what we saw against Packers, to be honest with you. I mean, I still don't. We can't just completely forget about the shoulder, too. That I'm sure is not 100% for Fields for him to go back to running like crazy again. So, and if he's down Claypool, he's down Mooney. I guess it's a good opportunity for N'Keal Harry to do more than just go downfield and catch one jump ball.
Hey, can they use their 3rd-round pick on offense? Maybe.
Velus Jones Jr. I keep forgetting about him. I seriously keep forgetting about him because he's just like you get him for 2 plays a game. It seems like.
So I mentioned him in that story about 10 players with the most to gain, and I said in there, you don't use a 3rd-round pick on somebody who's only a returner.
Yeah,
Mr. Special Teams Coordinator, you would agree with that?
Say that again. I took my thing out
Like
for a second.
You don't use a 3rd-round pick on somebody who's just a returner.
Correct, unless he becomes Devin Hester.
Right. Well, I got multiple comments that said, "Hey, the Bears did that in the 2nd round, and it worked out pretty well."
Yeah, but that actually wasn't how that played out. I mean, like, there's a
drafted
reason why they were still forcing him to be a wide receiver after he'd already become one of the greatest returners of all time at that point.
And
they were still like, yeah.
All due respect to Velus Jones, Devin Hester had 5 return touchdowns as a rookie.
Yeah.
Velus Jones has 2 muffed punts, and he lost his job back there. So I'm just not ready to put him in that category. So I'd like to see. I think he's done a nice job on kickoff returns the past few games. We're starting to see something there. I'd like to see him back on punt returns before his season ends too. Just to can he fix something?
He has to fix how to catch the ball.
Right. I say you got to get him going on offense. You got to see what you can, because there have been times they give him the ball on offense and he gets 12 yards.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's get into over-unders. I solicited these on Twitter this week for Johnsy because he wasn't here. Again, Johns is supposed to be back Sunday's game against the Eagles. All right, starting here with at Devon Kidwell 11 over/under 3.5 references to the upcoming Cowboys-Eagles game.
Well, if it's a 2-3 score game at halftime, I think that's going to go up. I think that's going to hit
because that's next week, right?
And it's on Fox. So.
Oh yeah,
right?
so you get they could already be plugging it.
Yeah. I'd probably. I think if it was a blowout, I think that goes over.
Yeah, Christmas Eve, 4:25. That.
Ooh, or if it's not a blowout and the Bears are doing well, do we talk about it a lot, hear about it because the Eagles are looking ahead to the Cowboys?
Maybe. I'll tell you what, though, I don't know if the ratings are the same on Christmas Eve as they are on Thanksgiving because you're kind of like obligated to have football on Thanksgiving. I'm just saying that didn't the Cowboys-Giants game on Thanksgiving have set the all-time record or something for ratings?
I mean, Cowboys-Eagles could be like game of the year.
Yeah. All right, I'm going over. That's a good one. I like that. All right. At Oja Crispy, over under Fields versus Hurts comparison. He puts it at 3.
Yeah, I think we're going over there, right?
Yeah.
Well, here's a problem. Like, who else in the Bears is a national broadcast team talking about during the broadcast besides Justin Fields?
Right. And I could see them putting up graphics each quarter, comparing the rushing yards so far. There's just their stat. I mean, there's so many ways that can go, and yeah, I'll take the over. All right, our guy Jonathan Hand, he's got a couple here. Over. Well, I think he's just saying he's going over 8 Sanborn tackles, under 30 points though for the Eagles. Eagles. Strange feeling the Bears defense shows up again for this game. Eagles likely win, but Bears keep it close. Bears defense gets a turnover also. Well, that's a bold prediction.
Bold predictions.
I'm definitely on the over Sanborn tackles.
Yeah, I am too. I'm assuming he meant just under 30 points for the Eagles, not 30 points overall.
Yeah, this isn't Kentucky-Iowa bowl game.
I'm sorry. I got to go over points for the Eagles.
Yeah, I'd go over maybe the next multiple of 10 too.
I mean, look, the last 3 weeks, 40 against the Packers, 35 against the Titans, 48 against the Giants.
Whew.
They're doing just fine there.
Yeah.
I don't think all right. At Wolf West Star, in absence of Johns, I think you have to ask about Cole Kmet touchdowns over under a half. So does Cole Kmet get a
He's
touchdown?
in like a touchdown drought, right?
Yeah, I don't think he has one the last couple games.
Yeah. I'll go over. I think Eberflus kind of talked on Monday about wanting to get Cole Kmet more involved. That was something they made an emphasis of earlier in the season when things
after
started
the bye week,
around,
after the mini bye.
And yeah, I could see, because I think the Bears could put up some points. So certainly early in the game, I wonder if they just have something the Eagles might not be ready for.
Three straight games without a touchdown for Cole Kmet. He had 5 in a 3-game stretch that went from Dallas, Miami, Detroit. He had 5 touchdowns in those 3 games, none since. However, he did have 6 catches on 7 targets for 72 yards in the last game. And the 6 catches were actually the most he's had in a game in all season. So he had a decent game against Green Bay, just didn't have the touchdown. So I'll take the over on that one too.
Yep.
At Kombucha. All right. Over under. A half of a hit on Jalen Hurts. So do the Bears get a QB hit on Jalen Hurts?
And this has got to be like you hit him while he's passing. It can't be like you hit him because he's take off as a runner.
Yeah, I think it's a registered QB hit in the stat book.
I will go over. They will get at least one quarterback hit.
Really?
I can't see them going another game without hitting the quarterback.
Because remember, they did not get one on Aaron Rodgers. They actually hit him once, but it was violent. It came off because of a penalty.
Yeah.
I'm going to go under. So down on this D line. Can
you imagine?
Oh, man. All right. And then at AirJair54, Jeremy Kramer, over under diaper changes of baby Johns prior to Adam having to leave for work. He sets it at 3.
All right, so where are we setting the clock here?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think if we set it at midnight,
yeah, we'll hit the over.
Maybe you hit the over. He did text me yesterday that sleep's been a challenge. So assuming they're getting up, does he still have to get up once, even having to get up before the game, or does he negotiate that in advance where he gets to sleep Saturday night before having to cover the game? I don't know.
Listen, Adam's just been rolling into the press box till like 11 o'clock. So if he's on that,
does not surprise me.
If he's on that schedule, he's got plenty of time to change more than 3 diapers. There's a little inside info.
That's a good. See, I didn't know that, so I think I might take the over.
Although if Johns was smart, and all due respect to Johns' wife who might be listening, he would say, "Listen, I got to get it's game day. I've got to be there early. You know, I wasn't at Hallis this week. I got to catch up on a bunch of stuff. I'm working. It's a work day. I got to get there at 9 a.m. You know."
That also sounds like something John
does he play that card? And then maybe that, fewer diaper changes. Does he say, I got to get a good night's sleep?
What a waste of time training camp was, guys.
All right, I'm going over just for fun.
All right,
here we go.
Bold predictions.
Well, in honor of Johns, I was going to do the Cole Kmet touchdown as a bold prediction. Now, he's been banned from doing that. It's never worked, but Cole is on a 3-touchdown drought here, 3-game touchdown drought. So I think we got to do it, and I'm not banned from doing it, so I'm going to go ahead and do it.
All right. My bold prediction is it was something about the Bears, how many points they scored. I'm going to pull up a number here because the Eagles have a really good defense.
They've been giving them some points though here and there.
Yeah. They give 33 to the Packers, 32 to the Commanders. Yeah, I'll say the Bears. I'll say bold prediction. Here we go. Justin Fields throws for 250 yards.
Wow.
No. He throws for 275.
Wow, he ups it even more. That is bold.
I think he hit 254 against Green Bay, which was a season high.
Okay.
I'll say 275.
Point is, those are some numbers.
All right. Well, as for the game itself, Fox noon, Eagles at Bears. The Bears are 9-point home underdog.
Ooh, I have a fun fact.
Ooh.
Let me pull it up here. Where's my doc? Here we go. The Chicago Bears have not been at least a 9-point underdog at home since 2014 against
late in the year.
the Lions, the Jimmy Clausen game.
Oh.
I would not have guessed that. It's the last time they were at least a 9-point underdog at home. So that means the entire John Fox era, they were never even a 9-point underdog at home.
So this is a bold thought, but if you made a quarterback change and then the line adjusted to you being a 9-point underdog at home to the Detroit Lions,
I see where you're going with this.
Isn't that a warning sign that maybe your quarterback move is not the right move?
But the Bears covered that game, so maybe Mark Trestman proved something. They were 10-point underdogs in that game. You actually, before that, you have to go back to 1998 for the last time they were at least a 9-point underdog at home. Stats courtesy of StatHead.
So a historical line there. Then they did cover the one against the Lions?
Yes. I think they lost 26-20 maybe.
All right. I am going to take the Eagles to win this game 31-24.
Okay.
Which would actually be a cover for the Chicago Bears. A couple reasons, I think, because I could also see this playing out just like that Cowboys game did, which I think I also predicted the Bears to cover. But this is the game coming out of a bye. Very small sample size, but based on what they did earlier this year with that mini bye, you think there's going to be a couple wrinkles up their sleeve. Maybe a little bit healthier on defense. Well, they are healthier on defense because they got Kyler Gordon and Jaquan Brisker coming back. I think that gives you a little bit of a boost. And it is at home. This is a high line. I think Eagles are in control of this game for the most part. It's not necessarily like some of these other games we've seen where the Bears actually go into the fourth quarter with a lead or something and then blow it. But I do think the Bears are able to stick around with Justin Fields making some plays. And I do think he continues to make strides in the passing game where the Bears actually are able to put some points up. I mean, 24 points against the Eagles would be an accomplishment.
Eagles 43, Bears 25.
Wow. Well, that would be the scenario in which they don't cover. They just can't get stops, which is entirely possible.
I should note to our listeners, who I imagine many of whom are loyal Friday morning mailbag readers at The Athletic, where we put up our picks, they will tell you that I am 2-8-3 picking the Bears against the spread. So congratulations, Matt Eberflus, on your upcoming cover against the Philadelphia Eagles.
I don't think I'm that bad, but I'm close.
Yeah,
I've been bad. But, okay. Am I allowed to explain why that's so remarkable?
Sure. I'm aware how remarkable it is. You know what's sad? I can't sit there and be like, well, like last year I think I was like 11-6 or something, which is an incredible record against the spread. But it doesn't matter.
See, our listeners probably don't know that we're in a massive pick'em pool.
Yeah, it's not gambling, just for fun,
It's
so
just
in
for
case
fun.
any bosses are listening.
It's actually a
point that
lot
out.
of but it's just a pick. Like people pick games. That's what they do.
It's
It's
an
okay.
office pool.
Yeah, and it's a big one. And I don't want to even jinx it with how well you're doing, but you're doing pretty well.
I've had a good year.
You've had a good year, which is why it's remarkable that you can't get the Bears games right.
Yep.
I'm also trying to find, it's like, oh, here we go. You might be surprised. Johns is 40, 24, and 2 against the spread this year.
And you know who doesn't care about his against the spread record?
Johns.
Yeah.
Like
when we were doing picks, when we do picks for the Athletic, and like I put the records up, like if I'm in the lead against the spread but not straight up, he goes, nobody cares. Like all that matters is straight up. I'm like, no, all that matters is against the spread.
Well,
and which maybe I should go back on because my record's so bad.
I mean, I'm 37, 32, and 3, and I'm happy about that. That's 53%. Johns is 61%.
That's yeah.
Thanks to Nick Villarreal, who's been keeping track of these all year for us because we care so little that we don't even go back and check them. So I appreciate that he's been doing that. All right, let's get through our 5 other games that we pick. And again, you might want to pay attention to what Kevin tells you here. Saturday, noon, Colts at Vikings. The Vikings are a 4-point favorite. You can find this game on the NFL. All the Saturday games this week are on the NFL Network. It's a triple header as they've been cramming down your throat.
Normally I'd like a team coming off a bye in this situation, but I don't really have a whole lot of faith in what Jeff Saturday's going to get accomplished after a bye. So I'll take the Vikings.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. I think you got to go.
Can I tell a really quick story?
Sure.
The 2010 NFL season, I was working for Pro Football Weekly, and we had a handicapping page in the back of the magazine where we make our picks every week. And this is my first year covering the NFL, and I did really well. I want to say I was and we picked every game. I want to say I was like at least 55%, maybe 60% clip. And my grandparents lived in Vegas at the time. They didn't really gamble outside the penny slots, but they would bring their magazines to synagogue to show off to their friends. Look at our grandson. He's writing in his NFL magazine. Well, they'd call me midway through the season. They now want to see your picks. Every week they're making us bring the magazine so that their friends, these friends in Vegas can see the picks. I'm like, stop doing that. I do not need the pressure of your friends at the synagogue, placing actual money on the picks and anybody who worked at the old Pro Football Weekly would tell you, we would make those picks at 2 a.m. on a Sunday night after for the upcoming week.
Oh,
we've worked all day. And then it's we're tired and we just put the magazine together that goes out the next day. And then it's oh, you got to make your picks for next week.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that was my quick story. Dolphins, Bills.
All right. Yeah, next game.
We are strong where we're strong right now, and we need to improve where we need to improve.
Saturday, 7:15. It's a good game. Saturday night. Dolphins at Bills. Bills are 7.5-point favorite, which seems crazy. Are we still looking at a possible snow game?
It's possible, and I saw that Tua said he's not afraid of the snow because it snows in Alabama.
It does.
See, Mike McDaniel cranked up the air conditioning the other day.
I did see something like that.
Yeah.
It's not.
Isn't Vegas and everybody else waiting for the Bills to just have that Bills game where they win by 3 touchdowns?
Probably.
But they're not doing it. It's just so the question is it never going to happen or is it finally going to happen?
I will say, there's something that seems off with Josh Allen.
Yeah.
He's still playing well enough to win. I know nobody cares about my fantasy team, but I'm in a 2 QB league where I've somehow ended up with Josh Allen, Trevor Lawrence, and Justin Fields.
Oh.
And I feel like we're going to get to the point where our playoffs start next week because we only have 4 teams to make the playoffs. But I've already been looking at this. I'm like, am I going to have to sit Josh Allen? Is this what's going to happen? Because it seems when you look at the other 2 quarters, Trevor Lawrence is you can't sit him right now.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to sit Fields this week because of the still a little bit of concern about the shoulder, and I don't need this game this week. So I don't know. It's interesting. I'm going to take. All right. I took when they played earlier this year, I took the Dolphins because of the sun factor.
And they won.
The sun factor, and they won. 7.5's a lot. But I think I'm going to take the Bills.
Don't you think Miami's like your total backdoor cover team?
Yeah, maybe.
Just the way they're built, but they there's like so much recency bias in my head. I watched like that entire Chargers Dolphins game, and you watch that, and I understand there was a lot of factors in play, but you watch it and you're like, they're going to go into Buffalo, and it's hard to. You got to take recency bias out of it because you got to imagine Mike McDaniel's going to have an adjustment after back-to-back losses.
It does look like there'll be some snow, 1 to 3 inches during the day on Saturday. Going to the evening time, it's going to let up a little bit, about an inch of snow expected in the evening. So
the Bills definitely need this game, don't they? Yeah, because they're fighting for the 1 seed with Kansas City.
Right.
Miami needs to stay in the playoff. I might change this later in the week, but okay. I'll go with the Bills.
All right, fair enough. All right, Sunday, CBS, noon, Lions at Jets. Sneaky good game here. This is a pick'em.
Jets.
Really?
Jets. Yep.
Why?
Not thinking twice about it.
Oh, see, I'm the opposite. I'm riding the Lions wave. They're playing good football right now. I don't trust the Jets.
I love the Lions wave. These teams have both been playing really well. I'm not trusting Jared Goff on the road in December outside against that defensive line.
Oh, that's a good point.
Just can't do it. Sorry.
All right.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
How's everyone doing? This is Nick Foles. Just entered the meeting.
Sunday night, also a decent game. These two teams tied a couple weeks ago. This is on NBC at 7:20. Giants at Commanders. Commanders a 4.5-point favorite.
Man, the Giants are reeling.
Yeah, they are.
Remember when they were like the story of the NFL? They're 5-1, maybe.
I mean, big picture, I still think they've had a pretty productive year.
Oh, for sure.
It doesn't feel as good when you kind of fall off the map the way they have.
And I think you can compare it to a certain team at a certain, city that also had a regime change, and you can notice some differences.
Yes.
I'll take the Commanders here coming off a bye. I feel like they're just a better team right now.
Yeah, I think I will too. Even though they tied a couple weeks ago, that was in New York, and Washington had a bye week, so they're playing back-to-back games against the Giants. The Giants had to go get their brains beat in by the Eagles last week, well, at home. So, all right.
You're not listening, Chris.
Monday night, ESPN, 7:15, Rams at Packers. It's amazing how much the Rams have effed up the TV schedules this year. It's an incredible job by them.
And the Broncos.
Yeah.
The Rams have another primetime game coming up, don't they?
I'm sure. Yeah, those on Christmas. On Christmas, they play the Broncos.
Oh gosh.
Yeah,
well, that's a four. Yeah,
it's actually a huge game for the Bears.
It's a late afternoon game, but it's Christmas, so it's going to be
it's a big game for the Bears. Don't sleep on that game.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, week 17 for now, it's Rams at Chargers Sunday Night Football. So you could have 3 weeks in a row in which the Rams are on an island for the NFL viewing.
I'm telling you, they screwed some things up, but man, no one could have thought the Rams would have been this bad.
I will say this: you're much more interested in watching Baker Mayfield with the Rams.
Oh yeah,
than you would have been with like Bryce Perkins or John Wolford.
This is a sneaky, intriguing game to me.
Well, the Packers still have like an outside chance of the playoffs.
Yeah.
And if you're of the belief that if they don't make the playoffs, once they're eliminated, Aaron Rodgers is going to shut down. You don't know. It's going to be another offseason of what's he going to do. And there could be a lot at stake for this game.
Yeah. I'm going to choose to look more at what the Rams were doing in that game before the 2 touchdowns were scored late. I'm going to take Aaron Rodgers over Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I'm taking Green Bay here.
I don't feel good about this one. This is a stay away game for me, though, in general. Like, I don't think you can trust either team. If this was like maybe if you tease this down for the Packers, I'd feel more comfortable about it. But I don't know. The Packers are a hard team to trust. All right, Kev, thanks for filling in this week. Appreciate it.
I might be back doing some fill-ins next week.
Oh, really?
We'll see.
Okay. So Johns is just going game day.
He's on a day-by-day schedule right now. So
Johns is day to day.
Yep.
Fourth baby.
Fourth baby. I will happily be. I'm trying to think of a good White Sox utility guy not named Lurie Garcia. I'm happy to be.
Yolmer Sanchez.
Yolmer Sanchez. There you go. Willie Harris.
Well, see, that's a better one.
Yeah, there you go. Willie Harris.
Willie Harris. All right. Thanks for watching on YouTube. Please subscribe. Hit the notifications so you know when we go live like we have this week, which was a little bit of a surprise. That's why you should have those notifications set up. Appreciate everybody that's been here watching live. For those of you listening to the pod the old school way, we appreciate you as well. And please rate and review the pod. Thank you so much for listening, watching, reading The Athletic, theathletic.com/Hoge and Jahns, and allchgo.com. We'll have plenty of coverage for you coming up Sunday. Bears and Eagles. We think Johns will be back. We'll see if he shows up post game. We should over under what time does he show up to the game?
There you go.
Inactives 10:30. Over under.
Oh, he doesn't come for inactive.
Yeah, so I'm going over.
Unless he does that thing I suggested, tries to get out of the house.
Yeah, which would be a veteran move. Veteran work move, veteran dad move.
Yep.
All right, we're out of here. We'll talk to you Sunday post game.
See ya.